not only in the Grand Final, but at match point, pushing Gen.G to the very limit after losing to them in the upper finals. This team really just has a magic that cannot be explained.
It's more evidence for my theory that we're all just background characters in an anime that is centered around T1 and Faker. It's all just for the plot development. They need to have a little bit of struggle before the success to make it believable, Vedius.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's see if Gen.G can make the struggle even greater as the bans coming in thick and fast.
All right, we've still got Nico banned over on the blue side, which Gen.G are back on in this game, alongside the Sylas and the Yorick bans. Over on the other side, two very familiar faces here in red side first half bans, Varus and Pantheon every single game. These are the two that neither team on red side are willing to give over on the B1 as Blitzcrank. An unusual ban, but one that you got to look out for.
I'm thinking Lulu. I'm thinking maybe even Tom Kench.
Yeah.
Like range supports, possibly Karma as well. If T1's thinking about removing that, does Chovy locks in his Victor right at the start?
It also makes me wonder about picks like Jinx and things like that rising in priority, right? Some of these vulnerable hyper carries, you're saying, okay, we want to have an enchanter pairing with it. What would struggle, would that be a struggle against? Well, maybe the Blitzcrank. So it is going to be Victor here early on. A lot of these control mages have already been kind of worked through here. We did see Faker, though, when he was pushed yesterday, bringing out the Hui, which was quite effective for him.
Both of these first picks for either team have been bans in previous games in this matchup. The Skarner ban just last game.
I just want to draw attention to, as we get later into these drafts and you blind pick a jungler against Canyon, this is where he starts to bring some of his more unique picks out. There's the Jinx hover that we talked about.
That's what I thought as soon as they banned out the Blitz.
It's been such a good pick for both AD carries. We only have to go back to yesterday to witness Gumayusi's performance on the champion, but I want to go back to Canyon. Things like his Nidalee. We think back to last year's MSI where he brought out the Kha'Zix. We think back to Worlds 2023. We think about champions like the Kayn that he's shown us before. A champion that has a very unique champion pool, is going to keep it calm and go with the Trundle instead.
The tank tenderizer here to deal with that Skarner that's been locked in first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense. When you're thinking, too, about how do you build a comp around Jinx, it usually is a bunch of meatballs and then Jinx, right? People to keep you safe, people to keep you secure. It is going to be the blind Jace top here for Keen. Curious to see if they will match roles here in mid lane or if they're going to prioritize it matching that in top.
I like picking the Jason top lane here for Gen.G. Again, I talked about it in game number 3, but Keen has been winning his lane in all the games so far. He's been building these individual leads, and even though Gen.G has lost twice, it hasn't been because of that top lane falling short individually. If Keen's given the tools to be one of the big carry threats, that could be the win con right there.
Zig's going to be targeted by T1, eliminating the AP option on the bot side of the map. I feel like we've seen too many times people not just pick hypercarry into the hypercarry of Jinx. I am a fan of things like Zeri as a response. Just go full scaling against scaling, knowing that it's going to come down to these full late game fights. Coming into this tournament, there was some conversation about Zeri actually rising in priority. We'll see what direction Roulette decides to go as the bans continue to come through. Doran's Gragas going to be targeted away.
I'm also just so interested to see how Chovy will bounce back from the last game, because when he went no kills, no assists, I had our stats team look into when was the last time that even happened. It happened last year in July 20th was the last time he had it happen. Has only happened 10 total times in his entire career, where he has played nearly 900 games. So exceptionally rare for Chovy to not be involved in any way. To be shut out in a game like that against a team that he has recently kind of dominated regionally is really a surprise.
That's less than 1%.
Yeah, so we can essentially just round it and say this happens 1 out of every 100 games, maybe, and it happened there in game 3.
And all likelihood happened early in his career, right? So it's before Chovy was Chovy. Probably some of those happened. So it is crazy to see that. Lulu gonna get banned out here. They are potentially worried about something, I think, like a Lulu Zeri, like you were talking about matching hyper carries on the other side.
Ezreal is also still open. A champion that is synonymous with player like Ruler, and if they want to go for something like a Ezreal Karma, potentially, if they want a little bit more poke, Victor, Jace, Ez, very long range, very difficult to play around these neutral objectives just because of the sheer amount of poke. Oh my goodness. It's a very similar composition to what we saw yesterday from T1 when they played against AL, just that traditional front-to-back style. Doran's Keen going to be an additional front line to help protect Gumayusi.
If they want to go something more standard too, they can also go the MF route, which Ruler has liked, but it is going to be Zeri instead. They will not have the Lulu pairing that was banned away, so clearly T1, we're suspicious of that coming through, but it will be the Rakan to give them that hard engage, which I think is something that they would have needed anyway.
And I like the K'Sante pick here for T1, not just for this game, but because it's a bit of insurance. If this does go to Silver Scrapes, like the last time these two teams went head-to-head did, this also removes the K'Sante possibility for Keen in a Game 5. As Faker's Game 4 pick, it is Control Mage and a Control Mage with the Hui.
This is what I was expecting. We saw yesterday, when it was that Game 5, when he got pushed down in his champ pool, and it was Control Mage type of situation. He went to the Hui, he performed well on it. So I'm not surprised whatsoever by these picks. This is what it was for T1. Hui Jinx, as that final game yesterday when we went to 5 here against AL, that got them across the finish line. This is the tried and true for them. Guma and Faker on hyper carries, 3 tanks around them to keep them safe. But on the other side, you have Trundle to shred those resistances. You have Chovy and Ruler on these hyper carries, and you have Keen, who has been playing so well in lane with the potential to create a side lane advantage here over the K'Sante.
In these late series drafts, I feel like people show too much respect to the Jinx, and the moment she gets a kill, she just snowballs out of control. Now looking to match with that scaling, Gen G still have ways to fight back should things fall apart a little bit in the early game. It's just about taking the game slow, which in the early game in this series largely has been. It's an exciting moment. T1 find themselves at match point, and Gen G putting a lot of emphasis on their carries to stand strong here in Game 4 to hopefully bring us to Game 5.
Gen G ready to lock in against a T1 squad that is 1 game away from winning this entire tournament. Game number 4, we are on to the Rift. And Betty, as you already mentioned, how unlikely it was that T1 got to this point. For Gen G, the expectations very much that they would be here. This is a team that is on a 22 series win streak. Although they have dropped individual games, they have not lost a series the entire road to MSI, the entire duration of this tournament here in Vancouver. They have stood tall.
I mean, the last time they lost a series was in the LCK Cup, February 22nd. Has been so long since they have actually been taken down. And it would be absolutely historic if they were able to actually win MSI without dropping a series after having an entire split of not dropping a series. That, to me, is perfection. And it's something that is hard to even comprehend being possible. But Gen G now 1 game away from tripping at the final hurdle here, from being just brought up barely short here by T1.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality for Gen G is that so many teams, rosters, organizations have been on the precipice of making history, and the number of times that T1 have stood in their way is too many to count. The lanes are already very active, trading back and forth between the players. Push on the top side in favor of Gen G. On the bot side, though, it's a very contested wave.
It absolutely is, and I want to remind you yesterday of the performance from Guma against AL. This guy was unreal in that series. 32, 8, and 27, ridiculous. Had massive leads in most of the games early on. Was pumping out the damage. The Jinx game, he was completely untouched. Once he got a couple kills, he really did run away with it. T1 played incredibly around him to enable him. They know that this guy is going to get them across the finish line if they put him in a good spot.
The bot lane scrappy here early on, not as much as we saw in the previous game, but Canyon thinking about getting involved here in the mid lane. 2 immobile control mages. Faker's got to try to run. The flash chomp from Canyon. Power Siphon sets it up. Canyon knocks it down. Gen G with first blood. 2 minutes and 55 seconds into the game.
Canyon wants to get this game going quickly. Hui is a champion that once that flash is gone is easy to lock down. Once he used the skill in that mid lane matchup, they were quick to capitalize. Chovy and Canyon draw first blood here in Game 4.
I just think the gank was perfectly timed. They were waiting for Faker to actually use his skill. As soon as he used the EE for that chomp, he doesn't have his fear available. And that is really your defense in most cases from these ganks. So as soon as that happened with Canyon in that side wave, you knew it was going to be incredibly hard for him to survive. And Gen G, able to bait that out, able to execute on an early gank.
Yeah, I mean, when Trundle walks at you, the point-blank fear is a pretty solid anti-Trundle mechanism, but once it's gone, like you say, there's just nothing to do about it. And Canyon, despite the fact that Trundle doesn't have hard CC, the slows from the chomp, the slows from the pillar, it's enough to set it up for Gen G nice and early. And when you look at the T1 comp, you don't want to have this Trundle get to the point where he becomes this massive melee bruiser that just invalidates your front line.
Exactly, but they spot him there, walked a little bit too far forward. Faker had eyes on him, and Oner is on that top side. We'll see if he can do anything about it, because Canyon is going to be on a reset right now.
The other thing that doesn't get talked about often is the stacks that Victor gets just by being involved in one of those early kills. Already at 59 in the mid lane matchup, securing 25 off that kill means he's quickly accelerated towards the upgraded E, which just provides so much more wave clear. And that on Victor is very valuable just because of how much control it gives you over the mid wave.
Really is. It looks like Chovy with that early Ruby Crystal going to be going towards Aroa, so definitely a slow build here, but will help him to be a lot tankier in these fights. I just question, is that what he needs? Also the ability to potentially go towards masks and go towards an early Leandries or something like that, but we have been seeing a lot of Roa. I just think he needs that frontline damage against a team comp that has a lot of HP to chew through.
Might just be thinking about the scaling state of a game where it's Zeri versus Jinx in the bottom lane. Gumayusi caught on the very edge of the grand entrance. Keria trying to protect his AD carry. Guma already using the ghost there to get a little bit of extra distance. Is Keen versus Doran here on the top side as Doran down to 300 HP. A sidestep from Keen. Doran is low, but he survives. It's a big wave about to crash into the turret as Doran heals back up with the health potion. Keen still applying the pressure. Accelerated shock pass brings the Cassante back down to 300. Pathmaker from Doran, but another heal from the Grasp of the Undying from Keen.
So, while that very tense situation was happening on the top side of the map, they were able to get Gumayusi's Ghost, and they got the heal out from Keria. Doran now taking over to level 6 means that he's a little bit more safer in this 1 versus 1. Oner tested his luck around the dragon, decided against it. Now that the bot lane of Gen G has returned to lane, resets need to come through from Guma and Keria. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Chovy really starting to put on the pressure.
Canyon taking the Drake now with the Trundle. Pretty easy for Trundle to take these objectives. Remember also with King's Tribute, you get a nice surge of healing after you take down one of these large targets. Back in mid lane, the trades back and forth. And with Chovy using the Void Storm, the Arcane Storm, to just get a little bit of extra tempo over Faker here. Make sure he's keeping that pressure up while his teammates finish off the Drake that Canyon was securing there. So we've got the early gold lead for Gen G thanks to Canyon in the mid lane. We've got the early objective lead for Canyon with the Drake take before the Grubs even spawn.
This one ward in that Banana Brush has paid a lot of dividends. This ward right here actually spotted Oner when he walked in to start the Dragon. That's how they pushed him off. Again, he was looking for an angle to go towards mid lane, spots him walking into the river there, and has been able to help keep themselves safe. Duro even spotting him again here as he tries to go aggressive, because they had seen Canyon up on that top side because of the ward in the river that Doran did place. But Ruler here with Duro, gonna try to stop him.
Yeah, Oner loses half HP, but he really wants this red buff. With Keria right beside him and Canyon still on the other side of the map, this should be guaranteed take there for T1, and Oner will be the first jungler to level 6.
You'll notice the pings come down onto the red buff on the top side. Oner identifying to his team, I'm gonna go base straight towards my jungle camps. Bot lane, you need to be careful. Canyon decided against trying to counter jungle, recognizing the dangers that could come with trying to make that play. He will clear out his top side, now look to go back to base. Hitting level 6 himself means that that tank shredding tool has become available to him. And we find ourselves pretty much all squared up with small advantages going the way of Gen G for now.
Yeah, Keen continuing to control the 1v1 matchup during these laning phases. Top side, nearly a 500 gold lead for him. He's knocking down plates. He's abusing the power of the Jace in the early phases of the game, and that's exactly what they need him to be doing. Oner hanging around here in mid lane, but it's level 6. for both of the junglers. Oner, however, when you use that Ishtal's impact, you cannot be slowed down. The pillar still counts as terrain. It's pretty easy for Skarner to be able to tunnel his way out of that one.
Yeah, going to be able to stay safe up on that top side. Worried about a potential look for grubs, but Doran going to get bad news. Canyon's here.
Yeah, Canyon's ready to chase after the Cassante. They don't want to allow him to get good all-out value, but Doran does it anyway. Canyon, he's caught out of position. The Impale has him stuck, but he stays alive with a little bit of extra healing. Canyon getting away for now. Super Mega Death Rocket can't finish the job as Doran stays alive. Canyon's the one closest to death. Oner still chasing, throws another rock, but it won't matter. Somehow, nobody dies.
Exchange of flashes in the top lane as T1 also tried to make a play in mid. Chovy was being threatened by Keria, the knockup that comes through from the Tahm Kench, and ultimately this builds up towards T1 being in a position to secure these grubs. There's no HP available to Canyon. It's a difficult fight, but maybe Keen feels confident. No, he's going to back away. These grubs will be conceded as T1 secures their first objective of the game.
Nicely done there for T1. Getting the near kill on the jungler feels bad in the moment, but it feels good enough to get the objective as Oner's making his way into the top side. Ishtal's impact slams Keen into the wall, and Doran, with some footwork, secures the kill and gets right back out.
Gen.G has been pressuring Doran, but this time the cavalry arrives there. Oner comes in and is able to help get that kill. They are looking for Keria. Does force the flash, but it is heal traded for heal and flash.
Yeah, Duro running in with the quickness for the move speed boost, with the extra move speed boost from heal, forcing the defensive summoner choices there from Keria to make sure that he doesn't get caught.
Keria, though, just going to take a base, and he has teleport, so he'll get right back out on the map if he wants to. You can see first items starting to come through. There's the Iceborne done for Doran. Yuntal's done as well for Gumayusi. So T1 starting to hit these first power spikes.
I will say that Gumayusi had built up a bit of a lead in his matchup against Ruler, but because he rotated towards mid, they tried to make some plays onto Chovy, and also he was just catching those waves. That opened up the lane for Ruler to just be free in the spot side. He secured himself a plate, he's now closed that gold gap, and both AD carries are being given the space to slowly farm up.
Oh, beautifully done from Duro there. He knows that Keria wants to try to interrupt the recall on Ruler, so he jumps in with the battle dance. He blocks the Tahm Kench tongue and guarantees that Ruler doesn't have his back interrupted.
Now with the dragon spawning in 30 seconds, you have to imagine that both teams will set their sights on it. Canyon hovering around top once more. It does make sense to try and funnel some resources into Keen. Can they really pull this off?
The all-out is ready to go again. Doran outplaying it last time around, and he's ready to go again. All out. Keenan in a little bit of danger, but Canyon looking to burst him down in time. Doran drops, and Keen stays alive. Oner and Faker wanted to show up, but they can't get there, and it means that Gen.G make the play work the second time.
And they had the extra teleport because Duro was holding on to his teleport from the Summoner Spellbook. So as soon as Faker arrives, even though Keen is low, he knows they cannot chase for that kill. If they do, they will both die for it. So double TP spin up towards that top side, but they do get a kill for Gen.G.
Gumayusi, though, going to be securing all these plates in the bottom lane. He gets 2 for himself. That's going to be 3 shared alongside Keria. They realize that Ruler is alone in bot lane because of that TP you were talking about, Azael. And so immediately they look to put the pressure on. Top side, Gen.G trying to cross map. Keen trying to hold this wave.
Yeah, Keen really doesn't want to give away the first turret this early, especially when his team's looking to put the damage into the top side, tier 1. Keen holding on, but the final rocket finds the target. T1 now trying to get a kill onto Keen. Keria gobbles him up. Gumayusi shoots him down. T1 tie up the kills.
Your meal is served, Keria and Oner. Serving up Keen on a silver platter to the Jinx, getting him the first kill of the game. He got paid with the plates, he got paid from the tower kill, and now gets a kill on the top laner to boot, opening up an 800 gold lead here for the Jinx to equal that of Chovy's in the mid lane.
That's the biggest thing. Gumayusi is being accelerated. The feats of warfare, a single kill could determine it alongside the next objective for T1. It's a very tense affair. The gold is dead even as Gen.G's finding advantages. It was Chovy that secured the tower in the top lane, but Gumayusi is becoming a problem.
Chovy might have secured the turret top, but the turret bottom was killed by T1 first. Gumayusi, 700 gold ahead on the hyper carry Jinx, on the big performance that you already mentioned, Isaac. We saw yesterday with this champion. T1 off to a solid start here, but the gold, like you say, Vedius, it is still even. Gen G, we'll see if they can stop Gumayusi from continuing to farm more money. These plates are just looking like free gold coins, and Gumayusi will pick up even more.
Well, Chovy does have the gold lead. Like I said, I do worry about this potential build. You know, I would have liked maybe a more aggressive build here, because Roa is going to be so slow, and yes, it does make you tankier, but I feel like the fights are almost purely front to back here. He needs to be able to have the damage actually knock through these frontliners, or it's all going to kind of be up to Ruler.
Canyon shows up in time to try to help Ruler defend this tier 1 turret, but again, they don't need to kill the whole thing. There's still plates up. It's not 14 minutes just yet, and Gumayusi gets another cash in on those plates. About a 900 gold lead for him now. Chovy at nearly 1,000 up over Faker, as now Oner jumping in there gives Chovy a bit of a scare. He immediately drops the Arcane Storm to force Oner away.
Look at top lane though. Keen pushing out a nice wave underneath the tower. Doran is going to be forced to respond, allowing Keen to get a quick base off. This Jace a little bit behind, considering he has fallen twice, but definitely in a solid position, looking to stack up that tier as quickly as he can.
The kills are only 2-2. The plates, very similar, but the edge to T1 by 2 of those as well. 14 minutes into the game as the plates fall. It's a tale of 2 sides of the map. T1's bottom lane is ahead, but the jungle and the solo lanes of Gen G have built advantages for themselves.
They absolutely have. And we've got to talk about T1 and their history at MSI. This is 2017, the last time they actually won back. You know, a very different roster here with Huni on it. And you can see, you know, they had a number of years where they didn't even qualify. They are now on this streak of qualifying, but they finished second in 2022, third in both 23 and 24. Now on match point here, looking to win again at MSI after 8 long years.
T1, 5-man group here in the top side river as the Rift Herald spawns. So often we see big fights break out for this big objective. Accelerated Shock Blast finds no target. In the meantime, Canyon has secured the Scuttle Crab for the side of Gen G. 1 Drake to 1 for both sides here, as Canyon's going to start up the Herald on his own. T1 still looking for control over the mid wave. They'll push it up slightly faster, but Ruler can easily clear the minion right after. Keria jumps in on an abyssal dive, and Gen G's ready to fire back. Keria in danger, trying to pop the thick skin. Stays alive for now, but Ruler jumps in. Feet of Warfare going to be claimed by Gen G, and T1 picked the wrong moment. Gen G were ready to absorb the engage. They'll take the kill, they'll take the feat, and they'll take themselves the Herald.
Duro so quick to re-engage off of Keria, trying to make a play on the map. Duro takes a chunk of damage. T1 trying to contest his tower.
Spiraling Despair on Ruler. He's got to flash away to stay alive. Keen putting a little bit of pressure onto Doran now as Chovy makes his way back into the fight here too. Gumayusi low on health, low on mana. Doran, footwork over the wall, barely stays alive. Gen G will not allow T1 anything more.
The feats are going to be decided by the next objective here. This game so tense right now. Herald summoned up here. Gen G going to be able to likely knock this tower down, but T1 still staying around, seeing if there's any possibility to at least stop the Herald from charging again, and they should be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, no worries about that. Faker can kill it as it tries to rear up and get another charge. No dice, but Gen G, beautifully played sequence there to stop T1 in their tracks.
And it's Keria that you need to keep your eyes on. He thinks that he's creating this collapse, but it's he who gets collapsed on. A beautiful pillar place with the engage that comes through from Duro, charming onto 2. Oner uses his ult in response, but they don't quite have the damage needed to get that kill onto Duro, meaning that he then bounces back to his team, and Gen G walk away with a kill.
And they didn't have the follow-up CC because Guma actually spent the Chompers just trying to keep the rest of Gen G out. So when you spend that Skarner all on Duro, who has already used all his spells, who has already spent the ulti, you need that kill if the fight is going to go your way. So pretty catastrophic when he is able to get out to safety. And that bought the space for Ruler to then feel confident to go in, knowing that Skarner ulti was down. But this would be feats here if T1 are able to take it.
Yeah, T1 are first to the scene here with a Drake, and it looks like Gen G might just give it away. They're going to focus on the tier 2 in the top lane instead. They want to build the gold lead that will now balloon to over 2,500. It will be the feats claimed by the side of T1. The Infernal Drake is theirs. 2-1 on the Drake count. The extra magical boots in their pockets, or on their feet.
I think back to the beginning of spring, game 3 of this matchup. It was Chovy's Victor with the fancy footwork, the incredible playmaking that really came up clutch. And now, as you highlight, Azael, look at the gold invested into him. That Rod of Age is 5 stacks, getting closer to that Leandry's.
Yep, 1.6k in his favor in that mid lane matchup. As you say, closing in on that Leandry's, which is such an important buy here when you're going up against Tahm Kench, Skarner, Cassante, all of this health that you have to be able to punch through. Chovy is going to be doing work with this gold lead.
And 4 minutes left on the clock until the danger point that you were talking about with the Rod of Ages being weak early as it stacks has kind of passed. The item will still have plenty of value once he gets all of those. And especially considering the last game, the 0 kills, 0 assists. Chovy's having a great time here now. A little more damage is all they need on Doran, but Keria gets him out alive. You can't say the same thing for the turret as Gen G take another objective. It's 4 turrets to 1. T1 seeing if there's anything they can find after, but for Duro, it's an easy grand entrance back of the wall. Ruler slammed in. Oner goes for the impale, but there's no backup. T1 desynchronized, and Oner has to use his flash just to not die.
Gen G is vicious with their aggression, pushing in that bot tower, immediately forcing a fight onto Doran. Oner overstepping his bounds, thinking he may have found a pick on the Ruler, but then he has to flash away to safety himself. Gen G looking fierce here in game 4.
They really are, and Oner there, kind of uncharacteristic mistake. He has been so steady, so stalwart. T1 should be able to grab this tower in the mid lane, but you know, even if the extra members weren't there from Gen G, you spend the ulti on Ruler, Guma was miles away. The only person even on the same screen was Keria. No one was going to be able to be there to actually follow up and get that kill. And losing the flash on Skarner is critical because look at the engage for T1. It's almost non-existent, right? You really are relying on that playmaking tool here from Oner to be able to put pressure on the carries.
Gentlemen, Artican on the map, and both these teams will not hesitate to use it to start a fight, especially if they feel that they are stronger. Now, Chovy could argue, listen, I only need 3 more stacks. I'm about to take over to level 13. Once I get that, I'll immediately jump up to level 14, and maybe that's the window for them to force the objective. But with these teams and this objective, they're often they are not afraid, I should say, to start this one off.
Yeah, if Gen G realizes it, T1 probably realizes it too. So those next 3 minutes could be their opportunity to start the objective instead. Keen trying to defend the tier 1 turret up here, which can be a very powerful tool to still have around the topside Otacon fight. Duro looking to approach from the side, but immediately has to jump back into the Herald Pit as Oner tags him and knows what Gen G is up to. Control ward from Gen G in the Otacon pit as T1 back away.
Yeah, Faker is the only one not here. He is just pushing out mid lane, and Ruler's going to be sent to respond. So T1 will have an opportunity when they see Ruler to try to move in and contest vision if they want to do it.
T1 still playing cautiously here as their mid laner is over in the mid lane. Duro looking to make a move onto Faker. He finds the grand entrance with a quickness, and Ruler puts bullets through Faker's heart. Gen G with a kill on the enemy mid laner now has control.
Duro has been fishing for so many picks, and he finally finds one onto the mid laner of T1. Faker is caught. Gen G have the numbers advantage, and they're looking to take everything from T1's jungle.
They're going to start by stealing away the red buff. They're going to continue by putting down vision control. They are going to pressure in a 5v4 situation. A TP about to show up as the gravity well welcomes Doran to the battlefield. Duro stunned up into the wall. Grand exit right back over. Doran goes all out. Ton of damage on the team. He's going to get killed. Ruler ready to get excited. Ton of damage on the T1, and they're all getting evaporated. T1 are washed from the rift, and Gen G crashed down like a tidal wave.
Gen G wiped T1 off the map, and it's starting to smell like silver. This team trying to push us to a full 5 as Doran beat him very far and gets immediately punished by the Gen G solo laners. They got so much damage down onto him. Again, Oner spent the ult on only Duro. They can't even kill him during it. As soon as those tools are down, Ruler knows it is my moment. He goes in and cleans up.
You could see how hard T1 tried to protect Gumayusi, but he was being crushed by the pressure coming in from all sides. Gen.G find a massive fight, and as you said, Azael, with a lead like this, it feels like it's Gen.G's game to lose as the Dragon makes its way onto the Rift.
All right, this is where T1 still have a lead. They're up 2-1 in these, but it's not like they're at sole point. It's not like this is a must fight on the side of Gen.G, but I don't think they're gonna shy away from anything, Betty. As you said, Otacon's a great time to fight. I think Dragon's a great time to fight. T1 in the enemy jungle, recognizing, hey, Gen.G wants the Drake. They'll try to get something on the other side of the map, claim the tier 1 turret, but they won't get a chance. Chovy's already there. Canyon will take the Drake. Super Mega Death Rocket just a little bit too late as Keen versus Doran down here in the bottom side. It's not going to turn into a whole lot. Canyon just looking to steal away the blue buff here at the same time.
Gumo around those objectives though, man, it just hits different. You look at the rocket and you know.
I was there in 2022 at the World Finals.
I mean, even in the last series, he stole multiple. This guy just seems to do it time and time again.
He's pretty good at AD carry.
Yes.
One would have to
That checks out.
assume. And now, though, the problem is Ruler is also a world-class AD carry. Ruler answering the challenge of hyper carry against hyper carry here in game number 4. 3 fully completed items on the very scary Zeri carry. Ruler is set to just bulldoze through these fights.
I'm just so happy to see it come through because I feel like the responses to the Jinx just have not been it. But bringing out a hyper carry in response, just focus on farming your way through the game. Ruler's ahead in CS, he's ahead in kills, he's got 3 completed items, and now it's T1 that find themselves on the back foot when it comes to the fight. And Gen.G, they are not slowing down with the pressure. Immediately into the topside jungle, taking full vision control and threatening the Baron in 27 seconds.
Big items for Gen.G. Seeker's Arm Guard available for Chovy's Victor, makes him a much more difficult target. Dead Man's Plate for Canyon, much easier to get the positioning he needs on these pillars, which are an incredible tool against immobile carries. Look at Hui, look at Jinx. That pillar goes up. It's so hard to play around the damn thing, especially with Duro looking for these opportunities time and time again, whether he's engaging or counter-engaging on the Rakan. He's been great on the pick.
And it's just so difficult when you're playing a tank-heavy team comp against the Trundle and you've fallen behind because the LDR is through. You're going to be getting shredded so heavily as well by the Trundle. And Doran and Oner are going to be much squishier than they are used to in these situations. And there's just not really a lot of great comeback mechanics besides an explosive ult from Oner. Like, he needs to find a multi-man ulti or something along those lines to really have a chance. Because T1 just don't have a lot of pick.
Yeah, Gen.G doing a great job denying T1 what they're looking for this game. T1 have 3 kills. All 3 kills are on to Keen. No one else on Gen.G has died yet this game. Oner loses half of his HP instantly from a grand entrance and a few Zeri autos. Keen, the only man that's died on Gen.G, is still ahead, nearly 2,000 gold over his counterpart. Gen.G will start the objective. T1 are gonna see it there with the severing bolt over the wall. They're gonna scramble to try to get into range, but immediately Faker has already targeted Duro with a beautiful start to the fight. Nobody on T1 dead yet.
Oner
the wall, looking to try to engage. Super Mega Death Rocket finds a target. Ruler's still alive, but Doran's going after him. The Baron down to 2,000. Chovy's already on a rampage as Guma dies. T1 die. Gen.G hold the smoking gun, and they're marching down mid lane with Baron.
A phenomenal team fight for Gen.G as they weather the pressure of T1. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're looking to bring us to Game 5.
Faker is alive, but he stands alone. Gen.G with a 5-man push. They dive Faker, they ace T1, and they guarantee us one final game. Gen.G tie up the series. We're going again.